After a long summer of hard work, summiting Mount Oberlin twice, getting chased off of ridgelines by mountain goats, it was about time that me and my wife took a fall vacation to the Oregon coast to visit family, enjoy some scenic views, a few hikes, waterfalls, bird watching, and a little bit of history mixed into it. We left Montana early Saturday morning to get to Spokane by noon, driving through the I-90 corridor of Montana, Idaho, and Washington, enjoying the turning of the fall colors. After leaving Spokane, we made our way down through the Columbia River Gorge down to Portland, where we'd be staying for the first leg of our trip. After getting a good night's rest, we made our first stop of our trip to Silver Falls State Park. What's up, Moose Crew? It's October 19th, and today we're at Silver Falls State Park. Silver Falls State Park is Oregon's largest state park, which boasts 9,000 acres, about 10 waterfalls, 24 miles of hiking trails, 14 miles of horse trails, 4 miles of biking. And the most popular trail is the 7.2-ish miles of the Trail of 10 Waterfalls, where the state park gets its name from. And Silver Falls is honestly a place that could have been a national park. It probably should have been a national park at one point. And even in 2008, the Oregon Committee tried to designate it as an actual national park, but the bill ultimately just died in Congress and stuff. But that doesn't mean it won't ever become a national park or maybe a national monument. But for right now, we're going to enjoy it as a state park. Like many areas in just the general West, it was built during coming out of the Great Depression with Franklin D. Roosevelt and the Civilian Conservation Corps, where this was a recreation demonstration area, which basically had three goals of building parks near urban areas, developing land into parks, and ultimately just providing jobs for people coming out of the Great Depression. And there's this very beautiful historic lodge that's a registered National Historic Area or building, and it's declared as being National Park rustic architectural style, and I absolutely love it. And it's just like they have the original furniture in it that was built way back when, and it was built from California myrtle wood. And myrtle wood is actually super prone to warping, so you have to do this really long process of drying it out that could take months or years. And the best way to speed up the process is using dry kiln method. But at the time, the only dry kiln was all the way in Michigan, which is so many miles away. And so ultimately, Oregon State University built a drying kiln just for this project, which is super cool. And it's logging history, I know, is super controversial from ecological standpoint and everything, but logging history in Oregon is so interesting because on how it was truly just so many people's just ways of life really here back in the day. If you're someone like me that wants to see everything in one go when you visit somewhere, the Trail of 10 Falls is the hike for you. It's a 7.2 mile hike that covers all 10 waterfalls held within Silver Falls State Park. I recommend starting at the South Falls because this allows you to get the steep portions of the hike out of the way. And after 7.2 miles of hiking, you're going to be really grateful that you thought of that. And then you can finish up at the lodge where you can put your feet up by the fire and get yourself something to eat. I love coming to Oregon during the rainy season. It just gives more of that Pacific Northwest vibe, and the lush greenery mixed with the fall foliage just stands out more in these overcast conditions. I don't necessarily recommend this, but I did drink the fresh rainwater being filtered through the moss. It tasted pretty good. Since we were past fall migration, there wasn't a huge density of birds passing through, but we did have the opportunity to see some of these little guys. And of course, there were plenty of mushrooms to go around. While hiking along, I couldn't help but admire how well thought out and built this trail actually was, between letting you see all the falls within the park and even allowing you to go underneath and behind some of them. And these aren't recently built trails, they were built between the mid-1930s to the early 1940s. The only fall that we didn't see was Winter Falls, because by the time we got to the junction to hike down to go look at it, we were so tired and our watches claimed that we actually hiked closer to 9 miles than 7.5 miles. The next day, we made our way out to Astoria, but first we had to take a little detour to Sauvie Island to go check out some birding spots. What's up, Moose Crew? It's day 2 of our Oregon excursion, and we are at Sauvie Island before heading out to Astoria, or as you call it, Astoria, and stuff. So what are we out here trying to find today, babe?
Hopefully you'll see some sandhill cranes. That would be cool. Maybe some gulls or terns, some egrets maybe. We've already seen a bunch of scrub jays, but I love scrub jays, so maybe we'll see some more.
So yeah, hopefully we'll find some more stuff, because here, let's see what it looks like here right now. Look at all those birds just hanging out here on the beach. Okay, there was a nice little heron that I got a video of that was over there, but he got spooked and went across the way. So yeah, so hopefully when we relocate to our other spots, we'll find some more. So let's go.
How are you enjoying that dog?
It's fantastic, because there's absolutely no food out here except for the Reeder Beach RV Park. Thank God they were open. Shout out to them, go stay with them, it's a great RV park. So we made it to the east viewing platform, which we blew past somehow on the way in when we were going down to the beach. But it's funny because it's like super unsuspecting when you're in the parking lot and you just pull off the road, because this is your initial view of just kind of this. But then like literally once you get onto the viewing platform, you just have this really nice, huge wetland back here, and this is like someone's farm off to the side. But there was a huge flock of, was it geese?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a bunch of Canada geese that were flying up ahead. I'll show you the B-roll for it. And yeah, and they're just so loud. Like the noise was insane. And then way out over here, we actually saw a gray morph of a northern harrier, which they come in full gray, but usually you see them in a more like really dark, rich brown. So that was really, really cool to see that type of morph. After that full day of birding, we finally made our way up to Astoria. We stopped at the Fort George Brewery to fuel up for the next day, to head up to Cape Disappointment just across the Columbia River. The origins of the names Columbia River and Cape Disappointment begin in 1775, when Spanish navigator Bruno de Heceta originally found the mouth of the Columbia and named it Cabo San Roque, noting its strong current that prevented his ship from traveling upriver. In 1788, 13 years later, Captain John Mures looked for the river's mouth, but couldn't enter due to shallow sandbars. He thought, this couldn't possibly be the river mouth Heceta spoke of, so he named it Cape Disappointment, thinking it was a simple bay. May of 1792, Captain Robert Gray finally located the river's mouth and piloted his ship through the sandbars in the Columbia Rediviva. He named the river after his ship, and Captain Vancouver sailed later that year to what is now Vancouver, Washington. With the discovery of the Columbia River confirmed, this ultimately led to Lewis and Clark's expedition to complete the Northwest Passage. Cape Disappointment State Park has one of the most in-depth Lewis and Clark museums that I've seen so far. They also have camping, picnic sites, maritime history, 8 miles of hiking, and 2 lighthouses, the Cape Disappointment Light and the North Head Light. We opted in to do the short hike to the Cape Disappointment Light. Overall, it was a really good hike, but it was a little more hilly and steep in some sections than we initially planned, but overall, it's a very nice family-friendly hike that you can easily take while visiting the state park. The Cape Disappointment Light was the first lighthouse constructed along the Pacific Northwest coastline. with construction beginning in 1852 for the price of $53,000. That's about $1.8 million in today's money. And after some hiccups, it was finally completed in 1856. The Coast Guard intended to close the station in 1956, but the plan was retracted when the Columbia River Bar pilots protested. The light was automated in 1973, and the lighthouse has stood tall ever since. Upon exiting the park, we happened to see a group of these little raccoons. There must have been some sort of little fruit tree that they were eating because I saw that they kept picking at the ground, and they were also maybe 100 feet from a very open recycling bin. We made our drive back across the bridge into Oregon to head down to Seaside. We first stopped at Fort Stevens State Park to check out the wreck of Peter Iredale, a shipwreck from 1905 that's still remnantly there. And of course we stopped at Cannon Beach because who doesn't stop at Cannon Beach when they're visiting on the Oregon coast? Unfortunately, we didn't see any puffins this go around due to the tide being out and poor visibility from the sun, but there were plenty of seagulls to go around, even this cute tiny little juvenile that was still squeaking, trying to get food from an unsuspecting seagull that might think it's a little too helpless when it's not. We then got dinner at Yellow Curry Cozy Thai, and then enjoyed a nice little evening walk watching the sunset along the seaside promenade. The next day was the longest and probably dullest part of our trip, where we drove about 4 hours from Seaside down to Florence in order to meet up with my brother-in-law, who's this really amazing birder, and of course my wife wanted to spend some time with her brother on this trip, so we made the long haul down there, and the trip was completely worth it because we were initially watching these sanderlings picking around looking for bugs, and then I looked off to the side and noticed this. These are snowy plovers, which are a very near-threatened species, and to have been able to see one of these was a huge lifer for me and just an amazing experience. The next morning we woke up at the Adobe Inn to this beautiful view of the ocean, and while I was staring out at the basalt, I noticed these little black oyster catchers hanging out with the gulls, and it was just super cute watching them forage for barnacles and shells and whatever they eat, and it was also another lifer for me on this trip. And they're not super rare or anything because they live all the way from Alaska down to Baja, but a first is a first, and it's always great. We packed up our bags and we were back on the road to head up to Mount Hood to take a step back in time to stay at the historic Timberline Lodge. I was so excited to stay here because 1, it's iconic from the opening scene to The Shining, 2, you just have the beautiful views of Mount Hood at sunset, and also there's just the historic value that the lodge has itself, and of course just amazing craftsmanship and effort that was put into it. You just don't really see this type of effort put into modern buildings, so to have this still standing and existing is just amazing to see for yourself. I spent a really long time trying to figure out where Timberline got its logo from, and the next morning I just ultimately wandered around the lodge until I found something, and there it was, right on the door frame. And I was talking to the woman working at the front desk, and she said that there's also a carving of it flipped, where they also got the inspiration from. I think it came from some sort of Girl Scouts book, but it's just really, really cool that they incorporated something from the lodge into their logo. And of course, we said hi to one of the puppies. This one's Heidi the 10th, Bruno the 12th was not there. But yeah, it was just so cute because they hang out behind the front desk during daytime hours, and it was just so cute to see them. On our last fun day of the trip, we decided to stop by Trillium Lake to take in the views of Mount Hood, and to do a little hike to Mirror Lake. While walking along the trail, I started noticing something common amongst the fallen trees. So we're hiking on Mirror Lake, and we started noticing these trees. You see there's a little divot there, a little divot there, and there's a tree always on there with a divot, and then that one. These trees were cut, if you notice, pretty high from the ground. And so those little cuts are from springboards, which were when loggers, like I said, they were cutting the trees high up off the ground. They put in these little boards right into there, so they cut that little notch, stick the board in, and it raises them up off the ground, so then they could fell the tree down. There's actually like a lot of trees around this trail that has those little cuts. Interesting little logging history fact if anyone's interested. This hike is only 4.2 miles long and is supposed to offer spectacular views of Mount Hood, hence the name Mirror Lake. But along the way we saw plenty of mushrooms and lush greenery along the way. And then we finally made it to the lake where we had this beautiful, spectacular view of Mount Hood. But of course, it was a super cloudy day, so we couldn't even see a little bit of the mountain. We hiked back to our car, and then that was ultimately the end of our trip. We drove back through the fall colors of Idaho, and every time we leave Oregon, I always feel like that the trip was never enough because there's so much to do and so much to see. But ultimately, it was just really nice to take this trip with my wife, just to have some time together, to go bird watching, do something new, see something new, learn a little bit of something. And yeah, so I really hope that we're going to get back to Oregon soon, hopefully next year, and we could do a little different trip. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video today, and I hope you guys keep exploring and keep trekking. If you like this video, please like and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one. Thanks.